countries. And Burundi's ruling party, NCDD, wins all 11 seats in the parliament. And U.S. protest against new immigration laws spreads despite President Trump's threats. Now the news in full. President Bola Tinubu has called for the prompt approval of the Biodiversity Beyond National Jurisdiction Agreement, an increase in funding for blue economy initiatives to ensure the protection and sustainable use of the world's ocean. In a speech delivered at the ongoing United Nations Ocean Conference in Nice, France, the Minister of Marine and Blue Economy, Adegboyega Oyetola, made a call for urgent and collective global action to secure the health of the oceans for future generations. The conference drew participation from over 120 member states, jointly hosted by France and Costa Rica, under the theme Accelerating Action and Mobilizing All Actors to Conserve and Sustainably Use the Ocean. According to the minister, the ocean is a repository of tremendous wealth, national capital, global food security, and sustainable livelihoods, reiterating the country's commitment to achieving the target of Sustainable Development Goal of Sustainable Development Goal 14, as well as the African Union Agenda of 2063. The senator representing Kogi West, Sunday Karimi, has absolved President Bola Tinubu and the National Assembly of blame in the slow or near non-implementation of the Supreme Court judgment granting local government financial autonomy. The federal lawmaker argued that the president had demonstrated his administration's commitment and support for a functional local government system in the country by taking the matter to the Apex Court. Senator Karimi disclosed this in Lokoja, Kogi State capital, by giving account of his stewardship in the last 2 years in the 10th Senate. He therefore challenged Nigerians to demand the implementation of the Supreme Court's verdict, noting that since the Apex Court made the announcement on the issue, some leaders have shown no interest in the policy. Away from Nigeria, Burundi's ruling party, National Council for the Defense of Democracy Forces, has won all 100 seats contested in the country's legislative elections. According to results released by the National Electoral Commission, the sweeping victory has sparked outrage from opposition parties who have denounced the polls as fraudulent and undemocratic. Ruling parties secured 96% of the vote, while other parties failed to meet the 2% threshold required for parliamentary representation. Notably, the main opposition party, the National Congress for Liberty, was largely sidelined ahead of the vote. Several civil society organizations also raised red flags, pointing to fear and the arrest of opposition polling agents on voting day. Despite concerns from observers, officials described the election atmosphere as peaceful and orderly. Kenya President William Ruto has condemned the death of 31-year-old Abatugwan while in police custody, calling it heartbreaking and unacceptable and urged a prompt and transparent investigation. Ogwan, a blogger active on X and Facebook, was arrested last weekend for posting allegations of corruption against a senior police officer. He was detained in western Kenya and later transferred over 250 kilometers to Nairobi without a court order. According to the Law Society of Kenya, his death in custody has sparked national outrage and protest, marking a fresh flashpoint in ongoing concerns over police brutality in the country. Libya to host first e-payment forum as Libya's central bank pushes for digital finance, announcing the launch of the country's first electronic payment forum, an exhibition scheduled for 15 to 17 June at the Tripoli International Fair. The event, backed by Central Bank Governor and organized by the General Authority for Exhibitions, which will bring domestic and international payment companies together, as well as commercial banks operating in Libya. According to officials, the forum aims to showcase cutting-edge digital payment technologies, encourage financial inclusion, and support the digital transformation of Libya's banking sector. This is Vicinity 95.3 FM. Global News will continue shortly. Thanks for staying tuned for news updates and live streaming. Visit our website at vicinity953fm.com.ng. For breaking news, send us an email to vicinitynewsroom@gmail.com or call 08143658302. You can also follow us on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram, TikTok at Vicinity 95.3 FM. Now the rest of the news. World Bank President Aja Banka is re-entering the nuclear energy space for the first time in decades to work towards meeting growing electricity demand in developing countries. Banka informed the officials of the bank that it would work closely with United Nations nuclear watchdog, the International Atomic Energy Agency. The decision comes as electricity demand in developing countries is set to double by 2033. To meet the need, annual investment is in energy generation, grids and storage will have to increase from over $280 billion today to about $630 billion. Besides focusing on improving grid performance, he added that the institution will continue financing the retirement or repurposing of coal plants, supporting carbon capture for industry and power generation. Protests against Donald Trump's harsh immigration policies spread across the United States, despite a military-backed crackdown in Los Angeles and threats by the hard-right Republican president to use heavy force. An overnight curfew intended to keep people out of the downtown area was largely effective, with police arresting around 25 people who had refused to leave. Deputy Commander General Army North Scott Sherman leading operations of officers patrolling government buildings and storekeepers boarded up windows to protect against vandalism. Reports say around 1,000 troops from the 4,700 ordered by President Trump to the city were actively guarding facilities and working alongside immigration and customs enforcement agents. The Pentagon has said the deployment would cost taxpayers over $134 million. A 14-year-old French school pupil detained for stabbing to death a teaching assistant had wanted to attack any adult monitor after being reprimanded. French authorities have announced plans to ban social media for underage 15 and the sale of knives to minors after the teenager was arrested for the murder of the 31-year-old school monitor on Tuesday in the eastern town of Nugent. The killing has caused widespread shock just months after another student killed a girl and wounded several others in a stabbing in western France. A regional prosecutor, Denis Devallo, said the school pupil acknowledged being the perpetrator of the latest deadly stabbing. A bit of sports. 2026 World Cup will kick off in the United States, Canada and Mexico as they are the host. The 23rd edition of the most prestigious football tournament will be the largest to date with 48 participating teams. The tournament will take place between June and July 2026. So far, more than a dozen countries have secured their place in the 48-team tournament, including the co-hosts, the United States, Canada, and Mexico, as well as the reigning champions Argentina. Japan, Iran, amongst others, have also qualified for the tournament. 16 teams will be allowed from Europe and more than any other region. Africa will have 9 teams on the World Cup, and Asia will have 8, with both also receiving playoff spots. Global News, another look at the headlines. President Bola Tinubu has called for the prompt approval of the Biodiversity Beyond National Jurisdiction Agreement and increase in funding for blue economy initiatives. We also told you that Burundi ruling party National Council for the Defense of Democracy and Forces for the Defense of Democracy has won all 100 seats contested in the country's legislative elections, according to results released by the National Electoral Commission. Lastly, you heard protests against Donald Trump's harsh immigration policy spread across the United States despite a military-backed crackdown in Los Angeles and threats by the hard-right Republican president to use every force. And just before we go, the last line. Today is an opportunity to reassess our political leadership and civic participation as we all embrace the collective will to build a just, inclusive and democratic nation. Happy Democracy Day. And that was Global News. It was edited by Mujib Olakunle on behalf of the production crew. I am Oluwafunke Israel. Thanks for listening. Please stay tuned for news nationwide at 6 o'clock. Good afternoon.
From the mountaintop, the sound is loud and clear. It's Vicinity 95.3 FM, Ìkejì Ìjẹ̀ṣà.
We lead while others follow. We lead while others follow. Vicinity FM 95.3. We lead while others follow. Àwa làgbà wọn. Aṣíwájú ni wá. Vicinity FM àwa ni bàbá. We lead while others follow. We lead while others follow. Vicinity FM ní kejìlẹ̀.